Hello, my name is Bill and welcome to Rust to Resurrection, where we talk about all things Jeeps. So with that said, let's get on with the story. All right, let's talk about how we're going to mount the can bracket onto the Jeep. And I want to talk about the tools that I need to do the work, talk about the hardware, and then talk about the location that the bracket actually needs to be on the Jeep. I knew that the military tend to be very particular about how or where or the method that all of this stuff was done. So I didn't want to just mount this anywhere. I wanted to sort of follow convention if I could. And so I went into this book. This is the evolution of the Willys Overland MB Jeep, Volume 3. This is a 5-volume set that was published by Lloyd White. Lloyd is sort of a national expert on all things Willys MBs. And I went into his book, and in here there is something called the TB, or Technical Bulletin, that the War Department put out during the war. Talked about how and where these things got mounted. And I was thinking that there was probably going to be some very specific dimensions from some very specific point on the Jeep. And in fact, there isn't. It's, if you look and read it, this particular bulletin actually talked about mounting fuel cans on vehicles, and it's only this one little section out of all of these that talks about the Jeep. And it says it is also suggested mounting positions for the brackets on the most common types of vehicles, and it doesn't really give you any location. What it says is you requisition the brackets from the regular supply channels. So these don't even come with the Jeep. These were installed in the motor depots where they did repairs and other places like that. And it just simply shows in the technical bulletin the location, the approximate location. It does tell you what you need for mounting. It tells you you need 4 bolts, 3/8 by 3/4, 4 plain washers, 4 nuts and lock washers. So I went and actually sourced those. Not hard to do. But what I did was I went and purchased stainless steel hardware. So that's my give to modern technologies. Much rather use stainless on this than the traditional sort of soft steel bolts or alloy bolts that would rust over time. So I sourced all of those bolts and I sized them according to the technical bulletin. I did purchase some fender washers, and the reason I did the fender washers, and I'll show you that a little bit later, is because this steel is fairly thin and these are going to be fairly heavy. So as this thing sort of shucked back and forth, I wanted to give a little bit extra support that helps thicken or give bearing surface for the bolts and the nuts, so I don't end up stressing the back of the panel out. Not knowing the exact location for the bracket, what I did was quite literally just started moving this thing around until I found something that was aesthetically pleasing, that sort of looked like all the pictures that I'd seen in all the sources that I went to. So I just moved it around a little bit, and when I finally came up with a location that I liked, the only thing I needed to do was make sure that when I drilled my holes that I wasn't running into the rear fender on the back of the Jeep. So I think we've got a location that's going to work. And here in a minute, I'll bring you up close and I'll show you how I marked it. And then finally, we'll show you how we're going to actually drill the holes and start mounting this thing up. Simple tools. We need some drill bits. I've got a automatic center punch that'll help start the holes or locate the holes. Obviously a set of calipers to make sure I get the drill sizes right. Drill motor, framing square, some 9/16 and 7/16 socket and open end wrenches plus all the hardware. All right, so let's reposition and start drilling some holes. Now I mentioned that I needed to find a good looking or a good location for the can bracket. So I just sort of moved things around and positioned this on a box so that I could walk away and really get a sense of where it looked the best. I had some concerns. I didn't want to hit the tire. I didn't want to obstruct the tail light because it's not safe, and obviously I didn't want to get into any kind of trouble with motor vehicle department or the police, and it just makes sense. So I moved this thing around and then came up with a location, and you can see the pencil line that I drew, and this line down here is the base or the lowest level that this is going to sit. And I made another line, and there's another line over here. I'm not sure if you can see that. And that line was put in specifically so that I can mount this other bracket, and this bracket is for the strap that we talked about. I'm trying to keep the can in place. Once I got my distance so that it fit in a location that looked good, and again, so I could clear everything on the other side. I needed to get that line so that it was vertical, so that when I mounted both brackets, they were both on center and they weren't tilted off in any direction. And once I had that figured out, then I just used a simple framing square. This surface up here is fairly flat, so I was able to do that. So I got that line drawn. Then when I got this, I sort of went off this line using the framing square to get it so it was level. Then I just measured from this surface to here to this line to make sure that it was indeed parallel to these two lines. So that's how we got that figured out, and that's how we got it laid out. All right, to mount this, we obviously have to drill some holes. I got 4 holes that need to be drilled. This thing is heavy, or it's heavy enough. So I've already laid this out. I matched the bottom to that cross line, got it on center, and I drew a circle with a pencil. And I'm going to put in 1 bolt and snug that up, and that way I can get this so it's level. And once I've got it level, then I can scribe the inside of each of those holes, and then take this back off and center punch and drill all the rest of the holes, knowing that I've got it where it needs to be. If I try to hold this at the same time as I'm drilling the holes, it's all going to go funky and askew, and it's not going to look right. So I don't want to do that. So that's what I've done, and let's drill our first hole. I have the center punch. It's an automatic center punch, and I'm going to pick up roughly the center of the hole. And obviously the closer we are, the better. And do that a couple times. So if you're not familiar with the center punch, what it does is it impacts the steel and then puts a little dimple. And the nice thing about the little dimple is it gives a place for the drill to center on, so it doesn't wander when you drill. I'm going to start out with a small, roughly 1/8 inch drill to poke that first hole through, and then that will provide the centering location for the larger drill, which the bolt will go through. All right, there's our first hole. Change out the drill, go to the 3/8 drill, and obviously that's so the 3/8 bolts can fit through. Yeah, that's a nice location in there. All right, so let's put the larger hole in. Whoop, moved. All right, let's get a tape measure and measure this out. Make sure we're at 6 inches, 6 inches, 6 inches, 6 inches. It's one of those measure 99 times and drill once. All right, so we'll scribe these holes, and so we've got that done, so it looks good. Then we're going to take the we'll take it back off again and then drill the rest of the holes. All right. All right, put back in the 3/8 drill and drill those out. All right, so before I go too far, let's line this up and sort of verify that did something right. Yeah, those look good. All right. So before I mount this up, I'm going to drill these holes as well. I'm going to go through the same process, and I'm not going to show you that. It's just going to do the same thing, draw them, do the center punch, drill the holes. I have all 8 of the holes are all drilled. A little bit of a burr that I need to file that burr away, so that when I put all these brackets on, there's nothing keeping the brackets from mounting up nice and flush to the steel. So let's sort of take those burrs away. Couple cosmetic things. I need to remove these pencil lines so that they don't show. Just a simple magic eraser works really well on pencil lines. Doesn't hurt the paint. at least wise it doesn't hurt this paint. I'm not sure I'd recommend it for your own car, but yeah, this works really pretty well. So we want to get those pencil lines out of there. All right, that looks good. Now the other thing that we need to worry about, by drilling those holes, we've exposed some fresh steel, so there's no paint on it. And obviously we don't want to leave that, so I have some grease, and I'm just going to put a light dab of grease on there. And when I put the bracket on and put the bolts back in, the grease should help keep those spots from rusting. Because I've mostly intended this Jeep as a collector, I don't plan to take it out into the woods and get it all mudded up. I know some of my friends, my Jeep friends, may going, "Oh, Bill, but that's what they're designed for," and they're right, but not the intention for this Jeep. All right, so let's start by mounting this up and getting this thing so it looks like it's supposed to look. All right, let's get some more bolts. I have this flat washer that I'm putting in the inside of this recess, and again, for the same reason that I want to make sure that I'm not putting any of the metal into any kind of state of fatigue over time, and that's why we're using these fender washers on the inside. I'll show you that here in a couple minutes when I get it all mounted up. See how good we did here. 6 inches, 6 inches. Can't like it much better than that. All right, let's do the upper bracket. And same thing, get all our bolts and our nuts and our washers and our lock washers. All right, so that's what it looks like. That's what it should look like. And I can't show you with a can because parallel to doing this, I'm also spray painting the can, the final color. So I'll come back and I'll show you that when the can's all painted. All right, so it looks good. Let me grab the camera and I'll show you close-ups of the bolts and show you the backside with the fender washers. Pretty cool. It's just a little bit of a close-up of the brackets mounted. Nice stainless steel hardware. Won't rust. Should look good for quite a while. Clearly you can see those fender washers. And again, it's just designed to spread the load a little bit wider out onto that sheet steel. The vibrations aren't going to fatigue the metal and then create any kind of damage or cracks to the steel. So, all right, so that's the install. All right, so we're done. I got the web strap put on. I had to use these little rivets that they supplied. I had to drill some holes into the web strap and then use the rivets to clamp it together. That was a really pretty cool way that worked. Got it all strapped in, buckled down, and that's the look we were after. So I guess we'll call this one finished, and I hope you enjoyed. We'll see you next time.